That's Sergei Djokovic, father of tennis champ Novak, appearing to say long live the Russians in Serbian outside Melbourne Park with a group holding pro-Russian flags banned by Tennis Australia. Now Ukraine's ambassador wants him banned.
Djokovic's father didn't initiate this display of flag wearing and flag waving, but he played along with it. And he clearly knew what the stakes were, what the public mood was about this, what the rules were about not having such nationalistic displays, particularly from Russians at the Australian Open.
In a statement, Sergei Djokovic said,
"My family has lived through the horror of war and we wish only for peace. So there is no disruption to tonight's semi-final for my son or for the other player. I have chosen to watch from home."
The incident comes as Russia continues to hammer Ukraine. Missiles and drones killing 11 overnight and leaving millions without power, heating or water. Apparent retribution for the West's pledge to donate battle tanks to Kiev.
The US and NATO are determined to further continue efforts to drag out this military conflict. The Anglo-Saxon world won't stop the proxy war against Russia and its allies.
The US, along with the UK, Canada, Germany and 8 other countries, now forming part of what Volodymyr Zelensky is calling the tank coalition.
These top-level battle tanks are critical for Ukraine because Ukraine is now awaiting Putin's spring offensive. It's going to come in the next weeks and months as the snow starts to thaw away and the ground gets harder and drier. But make no mistake, this is going to be a really, really vital and horrible fight in the months ahead.
Ukraine is keen for Australia to join this coalition beyond the 90 Bushmasters pledged last year.
Well, I'll make this point, that Australia stands with the people of Ukraine. That's Australia's position.
Pressure is growing on Australia to step up our efforts, perhaps beginning with a ban on those who voice support for their invader.
Well, Vasyl Myroshnychenko is Ukraine's ambassador to Australia. He's been good enough to join us now. Ambassador, Sergei Djokovic, as we just saw, put out a statement saying he only wants peace. He's going to watch the game from home. So are you pleased with that outcome?
Look, I've read the statement carefully, and it's a statement from the father of Novak Djokovic. It's not a statement from Novak. What is out there, I haven't seen a statement that he's actually condemning war. And I haven't seen an apology that it has happened because we could clearly see on the video what he was doing there, what he was saying, and it's actually up to Novak to address it, not to his father. And it's still there. There must be an answer that Novak has to provide where he stands in this whole situation and what's his position on the Russian invasion of Ukraine.
Ambassador, I think probably most Australians would agree with you that the actions of Vladimir Putin are abhorrent, but there's not really a place for flags with his face on them at big tennis matches. You've enjoyed the support, I think, of the bulk of the Australian community throughout this conflict. I just wonder if this question of where Novak Djokovic stands on the war is kind of a bit of a distraction, and whether it's really relevant what he thinks.
Well, you are totally right. If it was not for his father, who was actually glorifying Russia and supporting Russia out there amid all those flags which were banned.
I mean,
and look,
I reckon I'd probably disagree with half the things my father thinks. So I'm just wondering why go on this campaign about Novak when actually there's a much bigger picture here, which is the war. You have the bulk of Western support. You have very clear and strong Australian support. Why make this about Novak Djokovic, a tennis player?
Look, I don't want to talk about Novak Djokovic. That's actually his father who actually made me talk about him. And this is the whole world is talking about Novak because of that. It's actually the mistake that his father has made, that his son is now accountable. That's not because of me. I didn't do any campaign, actually. I was sitting out there silent, and that was actually his actions which caused the reaction and hence the media coverage. So, look, I would rather talk about Bendigo and why Prime Minister was out there checking out the Bushmasters, and let's talk about Bushmasters, how many lives they can save. But look, sports is part of politics. Sports is political. You've seen what China, how much China has, invested into the Beijing Olympics, how much Qatar has invested in the World Cup for football, right? I mean, Russians have been actually doping their athletes to improve their performance at the Olympic Games. Sport is political, and that's unfortunate, of course. And I didn't start any campaign. Look, I just reacted to the request for comments because of the, Djokovic's behavior and his support for Russia. So I don't really take your argument.
You did say you'd prefer to be talking about Bushmasters, and I do have a question about that. Australia's obviously already pledged 90. Do you want more Bushmasters? Are you asking the Australian government for tanks, like you've requested from other countries?
As you've seen, there was a big tank coalition which was announced recently, with Americans sending Abrams and Germans are sending their Leopards. British are sending Challenger 2. So we have an international coalition, and many other European nations, by the way, are also contributing to that. And Ukraine would welcome if Australia also joined the tank coalition. And we would also appreciate if they could continue sending Bushmasters, because they've been very efficient out there on the field, saving Ukrainian lives.
Ambassador, thank you for your time.
Thanks a lot for having me.